Are you trying a lot of different marketing channels to make your business grow? But as a result, stretching your marketing resources way too thin and they're not able to focus on even one of the channels properly? Or are you doing what everyone else is doing, where you just focus on Facebook, Instagram, Google Ads because everyone seems to be doing that? Well, I'm here to tell you that there might be just those one, two channels, which might not be Facebook or Google Ads, which will be perfect for your business in terms of money and scale. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to go about finding those channels for your business. Get started. For the purpose of this video, let's make up a business that we'll be creating the marketing strategy for. So let's say that you're running an e-com store and you sell shoes. So let's call this shoe e-store. And now we'll be creating a marketing strategy, see what the right channels are for this particular business. And rest assured that you'll be able to take this model and apply to whatever kind of business that you are running. The first step is really simple. You have to make a list of all the marketing channels that you can think of, right? So let's just give it a heading, channels. And we literally write all the channels that we can think of. So I've just added a small list of channels for marketing and growth for your business that I could think of for this particular store. Now, when you are making this for your business, the easiest way to do this is just write down everything that you can think of, any channel that can help your business grow. You can even go online, search for channels that have helped other businesses grow, and you can just write them down here. At this point, do not care about whether it is the right fit for your business or not, just write everything here. A few other things that you can do to discover channels is look at your competitors, see what are the channels that they are using for growth, or you can even speak to customers and try and understand what channels they are present on, or what are the channels that they used to discover your business. A lot of these things can help you create a list, and this list should easily be 20, 30, 40 different channels that could possibly help your business grow. But like I said, at this point, do not care about does it actually make sense for your business or not. Just add to the list. Now that we are done with step 1, at this point all you have is a list of channels. Now step 2 is going to be making the first cut. So from here we'll eliminate some of the obvious channels that might not make sense for an online shoe store, right? Let me quickly add a status column here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark some of the channels as discarded, which I know would not make sense for an online shoe e-store, right? So I've discarded some of these options because when you're running an online shoe store, probably going to trade shows or app store optimization and sales team is not something that you're going to be doing. So these are very obvious ones. But as you can see, I've left things like TV ads, radio ads, which also off the bat might not be making sense. But what you need to remember is that sometimes, many a times, the most effective channel is not the most obvious ones. So even if this is not the norm in your industry to use as of now, keep them here on this list unless it makes absolutely no sense to you. And now on to the next step. So the next step is user behavior. Let me quickly add a column here. Now what I want you to do is identify user behavior. What do people already have to be doing on these channels which could make it easy for them to discover your business? Remember, these are not your customers yet. These are people that you want to reach out to and hope that they become your customers. So what does a person need to be doing to make search engine optimization a right fit for your business? So here the answer is that the user needs to be searching for shoes online. Let's say searching for shoes on Google more specifically. And if this is the natural user behavior, in fact, let's call this natural user behavior. If this is what a person is already doing, then using search engine optimization might make sense for your business because people are already out there looking for shoes on Google, searching for them. And if they're doing it, then it makes sense for your business to be using that channel to reach out to people, right? Now let's do this for a few more channels and see if that makes sense. Search ads is going to be the exact same thing. If they're searching for shoes on Google, that's the opportunity for you to create an ad and come on top of the list. Now, when it comes to Instagram, we need to think that, do our prospective customers spend time on Instagram? A lot of times answer would be yes, right? Because of course everyone uses social media and everyone is on Instagram, but you also need to think about the context of things. For example, if I was running a business and it was a B2B business where I was supplying raw materials to a factory, of course my customers are probably using Instagram, but there's no point in trying to reach out to them on Instagram because it just doesn't fit. They are there from a very different mindset, right? So it's not just that whether your prospective customer is using Instagram, but it's also the context of things. In this case, however, the person needs to be consuming fashion related content on Instagram. And for a vast majority of people on Instagram, this is actually true. So Instagram might make sense for us. Same goes for all the other social media channels that we have here. Now, let me just quickly add this for the rest of the channels. So I've added all the natural user behavior and we'll quickly go through them. For all the social media, we've already added that they need to be consuming fashion related content. With blogs, however, yes, people do follow fashion blogs, but I've added a question here called specific to shoes. Would my customers or intended customers be interested in a blog just about shoes, or maybe I can think about a fashion blog where I plug in my shoe store as well? Might make sense, might not make sense. For LinkedIn, it is same as all the other social media platforms. For radio, I've just in general, does my intended target audience actually listen to radio? Same goes for TV. Do they spend enough time watching TV and consuming fashion content on TV? Community building. So are prospective customers part of some fashion communities? But while writing this, what I realized is that it'll probably be difficult to create a community around shoe lovers. So that might not work. But an idea did come to me for influencer marketing, which means that I could leverage communities that are already created by fashion influencers and I could use that opportunity to promote my shoe store, right? So, as in when you keep discovering new channels or have new ideas, just keep adding them to this list. Email marketing, are people actually active on email? And even if they are, especially for promotional emails, because that is what we would be doing. For things like website promotion, Instagram retargeting ads, referral program, loyalty cards, a lot of this depends on how many customers do we already have as a business, how many of them are actually purchasing from the website, because only then website promotions would make sense. Same as retargeting ads on any channel, not just Instagram. If you have enough traffic on your website, then you can retarget them. For referral program, maybe run a survey with your customers to understand that are they willing to talk about your store, your e-store, with others for a discount. Loyalty card, do we have enough repeat purchases to begin with? And only then maybe loyalty cards would start making sense. This is a way to engage your existing customers and see if you can get repeat business out of them, right? And obviously influencer marketing is something I've just added, so I'm not adding the natural behavior here. Now what you can start doing is discarding some channels which do not make sense to you after adding the natural user behavior. So for example, for me, a blog does not make sense at the moment because I find it hard to believe that if I could create a blog around shoes, people would follow it and want to consume content on it. Of course, this is possible to do, but this is not something that me as a business owner am willing to invest my time into. Maybe I don't have the skill set required to create a blog. I will also be discarding radio ads for now. That is not making too much sense to me. I'm discarding LinkedIn for now, not making too much sense to me. Podcast as well. So what you need to remember is that this is an incredibly personal process for your business and what you do as a business owner. For someone sitting on the other side of the screen right now, maybe they're thinking that, hey, I could create a very cool LinkedIn campaign around the shoes people wear at work, right? Or you could create a really cool blog with a very small community of people who are into shoes. And of course, you might find audience around that. But for me, as a business owner, it is not making sense right now. But if it does for you, you know what, go ahead and not discard it, keep it there, not a problem. We have more steps coming down the line that will help you choose between the ones that you've not discarded. Speaking of that, coming to the next step, which is prioritization. Let me quickly edit this sheet a little bit and then explain what that means to you. Firstly, let's remove all the discarded ones. Those are the ones that we don't need to look at right now. So now you have a list of 14 channels here, right? And obviously you cannot work on all of them at once. Otherwise you will end up spreading yourself way too thin across a lot of different platforms and you would not be able to focus on even one of them properly, right? So we need to understand that out of these 14, what are the top 2, 3, 4 channels that I can start experimenting with. And remember, experiment is the key word. You're not going all in just yet. You want to see that if I were to go the search engine optimization route, would it make sense? So I want to run small experiments to see that do these make sense to me. And in order to decide what experiments I'm going to run, these parameters will help me decide which one to pick first. So what does cost mean here? How much do you expect to spend on the experiment? So if I were to pick search engine optimization or search ads or community building, no matter which one I pick, what is the cost expectation just for running the experiment? Remember, again, we're not talking about going all in, just to test out the channel. If I were to run an experiment, what is the cost that I would see? Targeting. How easy is it for you to reach the intended audience? Whoever your target audience is, using all of these channels. How easy or difficult is it going to be? Once the experiment is live, do you have enough room to make changes to the experiment? That is what we're trying to discover with control. Input time, as you would expect, how much time will it take the team to launch the experiment? And output time is similar. How much time would it take for the team to get results from the experiment? Scale talks about how large of an audience can you actually reach with the experiment that you're running. So we have all of these parameters and we're going to score all the channels on these parameters and then we'll average out the score. So right now, obviously, this is going to give us error because there are no numbers here. But once we start adding the numbers, these average will start getting added. So let's talk about some of these channels and see what this would look like. We're going to score each of the channel on all of these parameters and it'll be a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 means the most favorable outcome for the business and 1 means the least favorable outcome for the business, right? So in this case of cost, 1 would mean expensive and 10 would mean cheap. So I would mark search engine optimization at something around 4 maybe, because it can get slightly expensive over the long term if you're focusing on search engine optimization, because there's a lot of link building involved, there's a lot of content copy involved. It just takes a long time and over long duration could end up becoming expensive. For targeting, again, 1 would mean that it is difficult to reach the intended audience and 10 would mean it is easy to reach your intended audience with search engine optimization. And here I would rate search engine optimization slightly higher, because once you have your SEO figured out, people who are searching for shoes will find you, and it's the easiest and the simplest way to find the people who are looking for your store, right? How much control do you have to make changes after the experiment is live? So 1 is no control and 10 is a lot of control. You have very limited control when it comes to SEO, so this is going to be pretty low. Input time, output time. So again, 1 would mean lot of time, 10 would mean less time. Same goes for output time. So in terms of SEO, input time is actually quite a lot, right? So it takes a lot of time to work on SEO, and the output time is also very, very long term. So that is also pretty low. How large of an audience can you reach with SEO? So 1 is not too large and 10 is very large. So with SEO, I believe that you can reach a very, very massive audience, right? So it's a channel that scales really well. Let's look at some other channel. Let's look at email marketing, for example. Do you expect to spend a lot of money with email marketing? Not really. Email marketing is generally cheap. So I would rate it at 7. How easy is it to reach your intended audience? Now this answer is very specific to you. Do you have an email list which is of your intended audience? If yes, then it's easy. If not, then it's difficult. Let's assume I already have a good list. How much control do you have to make changes after the experiment is live? A lot of control. You can change your email templates whenever you want. How much time will it take for the team to launch the experiment? Very little time. Not a lot. How much time would it take for you to get an output? Again, not a lot. There might be some experimentation involved, but not a lot. Scale, again, very specific to you. Do you have a massive email list that you can keep using over and over again? Do you have a source of getting a lot of emails which makes sense for your business? For now, let's assume that any normal business owner would not have a too large an email list to work with. So can I reach a lot of audience? Probably no. But yeah, I mean, if you worked on it, you'd probably be able to scale email marketing as well. But the score here comes out to be somewhat 7.17. Let's see something else. Let's look at Instagram ads. Cost, probably somewhere in between, maybe more on the cheaper side. So 6. Targeting, is it easy to reach your intended audience? Oh yes. The amount of filters that Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of the social media platforms provide you is really, really awesome. So it is very easy to find your intended audience. Do you have control? Will you be able to make changes? Absolutely, almost in real time. So this is very, very high. How much time does it take to create the experiment? Not a lot. So less time. How much time does it take to get output? Again, not a lot. So very less time. And will you be able to scale this? Can you run a large scale experiment? 100%. So there we are at with Instagram. Facebook would probably be the same. So let's look at some other example. Let's look at TV ad. Is it going to be expensive? Yeah, it's going to be very, very expensive. Is it easy to reach your intended audience? Probably somewhere in between, because with TV, obviously the people watching might be interested, might not be interested, you will not be able to control. So probably somewhere in between. Again, control, like we were saying, you have very little control. You can decide right in the beginning that these are some of the places that I want to advertise, but once that decision is made, there is no going back, and you cannot make any changes to the experiment, you cannot make changes to your ad. So yeah, very low on control. Input time. Yes, it takes a lot of time to create TV ads, right? There's a whole production that is going to happen. Output time. How much time will it take the team to get results out of this experiment? So it'll take a lot of time, because you need a lot of time to create the ad, and then it goes live. You get a date when your ad is going to go live, and then you're hoping that the right audience watches it and ends up converting. So probably not that great. Scale, on the other hand, with TV is very, very large, right? So this is where we'll probably score TV high. Radio ads is also somewhat similar to TV. Some things might change, so this is not one that I'll be covering. Let's look at something like loyalty cards. Now again, this is very contextual to your business. Does it take you a lot of time, or is it expensive for you, right? So let's assume that for loyalty cards, since it's an e-commerce store, it'll probably be a digital card. I'm not going to be making physical cards. So experimenting might not be too expensive for me. So it might be somewhat cheap. But there is a lot of cost of development and things like that. Targeting. Is it easy to reach the intended audience? Of course, it is quite easy to reach the intended audience, because these are people who I already know. They're already my customers. It's very easy. In fact, it's very, very easy. So let's make it 10. Control. Can I make changes to the experiment after its life? Of course I can. This is my loyalty card, right? I'm the business owner. I have a lot of control over what happens with that program. Does it take too much time to set this up? Really not that much. Maybe just some development around loyalty cards on the website or something. And the output time is also probably not that much, because I'm incentivizing my customers to spend more on my shoe stores, so probably should not take too much time to get output as well. Is it a platform that I would be able to scale? Not really, because this runs only with my existing customers. So this is not going to scale and bring me new customers. So something like a 3 maybe. Let's stop this activity here for now and let's work with what we've already gotten. So we worked on about 5 channels and we have an average score for all of these parameters. Now all you got to do is sort this by the highest value. And we know what are the channels that we need to start experimenting with. Of course, you need to complete all of this for your business and all the channels that you have listed down, calculate the average for all of it, and then sort. And now it is for you to decide as a business owner, what is the bandwidth that you have available in terms of marketing. If you're just one person trying to run the show, my advice would be to not pick too many. Pick maybe 1 or 2 or 3 maybe at max, so that you have enough time to go deep into these experiments and run them really well. What ends up happening if you select a lot of channels is that you would end up trying to run all of them together and you will not have enough resources and bandwidth and time to invest and actually run an experiment properly. So in our scenario for this shoe store, let's say if I was the only person running it and I was the owner of the business, I would probably just pick 2 to start with: Instagram ads and email marketing. So these are the ones that I've chosen to run the experiment with. So now that we've chosen Instagram ads and email marketing to begin with, we will start the experiments for these channels. And the goal with experiments is largely 2, right? You're working on cost and you're working on scale. You want to be able to run your experiments as cheaply as possible and scale them. So the metric that you would probably looking at is customer acquisition cost. What is the customer acquisition cost when it comes to Instagram, and how much can I scale it? Same goes for email marketing, right? So let's assume my acquisition cost here would be $1 and my acquisition cost here was, let's say, 90 cents. And I'm able to scale this not too much. So the scale is low and I'm able to scale this really well. So now after running these experiments, I as a business owner might decide that, you know what, Instagram is working great for me. I've scaled it really well. It's happening. And email marketing, while I'm not able to scale it, the cost of acquisition is still making sense to me. And I continue to work on it and continue the process that I've already set up. But now I have bandwidth. So I start working on other things from here. So maybe I start working on loyalty cards. And this is how your marketing activities will continue on a day to day. You will experiment with some channels, whatever your bandwidth allows you to do, and you will try and see what is the cost of the customer acquisition, what is the scale that you're able to scale it at, and as long as that is making sense, you continue to use that channel. If that stops making sense, you stop the experiment and you pick another one, whichever one is making sense the most in the list that you already have. And this process in repeat is largely how your planning for marketing and growth channels generally work. The last step is discovery. So obviously this list that we created initially, it is not exhaustive and it cannot be exhaustive. So as and when new channels come up and you discover new channels, you keep adding them here. So for example, let's say I just thought of Reddit. I just thought of TikTok. These are channels that I did not have here. And obviously a lot of new channels will get added over time. And as they get added, you have to do the same exercise again, where you start ranking these channels basis on all of these parameters. You see if the average is making sense compared to all the other channels. And if a new channel ends up becoming really high in this list, then you need to figure out the time to start experimenting with that channel as well, and maybe remove a channel that is not making sense as much. I hope this video was helpful and you are able to use this template to start planning your marketing and growth strategies in a better fashion. If it was helpful, do let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. How do you plan your marketing channels at this point?